Hi, everyone.
Hello, Rob.
How's it? How are you?
How are you, Rob? All right.
Everyone well?
Baruch Hashem.
Good. I'm so happy to hear. What's news, guys? Dr. Les is with us. Dr.
Shalom,
Les.
Rob. How are you? How are you?
You.
Good, all good.
Hello, Rabbi.
Hello.
How are you? It's Ava.
Hello, Iva. Hello.
Hello, it's Anthony. How are you?
Hello, Anthony. Baruch Hashem and you. Okay, we're going to give Les now a chance to give us the news and Israel. What's happening?
So, Rabbi, we've got mouth-watering breaking news in Israel. I couldn't believe it when I read this, but Israel has unveiled its first lab-grown, fully sized steak. A steak that is made from natural animal cells, and it's by a firm called Alpha Farms, and they can create steaks in any cut, texture, flavor, and it's all made using natural animal cells. So it's just something unbelievable, because this is going to open up so many questions. Is it parav? Can vegetarians eat it? But it's got so many implications. I mean, if they can make the steak in a lab, it's just unbelievable. It's really mouth-watering breaking news. And I think there's going to be a lot of discussions with the Rabbanut. You know, will it put Shoktim out of work? It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Wow.
So this is breaking news from Israel. It was on Ynet, and I just read it a few minutes ago.
Sure. Yeah. So nice to hear that.
It's good to hear good news. And just very quickly, 40% of Israelis have received the first dose, and 25% have received the second dose of the vaccine. So, Rav, it's good news.
It is beautiful news. What are you talking? It's so beautiful to hear all of that news. Thank you for sharing with us.
Not at all.
Good. Baruch Hashem. Okay. We're going to start with the show. Okay, I'm going to mute everyone, and we're going to start the show. Mark, you obviously know what to know because you בעל קורא. So בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח, והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. השיעור יהיה לעילוי נשמת הרב אברהם חיים בן אליעזר יעקב, that's our Rabbi Tenza, לעילוי נשמת אסתר קדן בת קציה, מרדכי בן רחמה, תמר בת זהבה, אסתר בת משה הלוי, רחל בת מלכה סולטנה, רבקה לאה בת דוד, נשמתם תהיה צרורה בצור החיים, please God. Okay, and now we're going to do in the health of. We're going to do in the health of the sick people. I'm going to say, מנשה נג'י בן פרחה, ליאורה בת מרים, משה מאיר בן חנה, אביבה בתיה בת קיילה, חנה שרה בת דבורה, דבורה בת מרים, שלמה פנחס בן שינה פישה, דבורה בת אסתר, משה בן דבורה, הרב אברהם בן מרינה, הרב שלמה יהודה בן דליה, יעל פרחה בת אסתר קדן, שרה רבקה טל בת אסתר קדן, וכל שאר חולי ופצועי עמו ישראל בכל מקום שהם, ולרפואת אורנה בלומה בת מרים, I almost forgot. Okay, please God, רפואה שלמה to all of them. We're going to start with the introduction to the Parsha. And as you all know, Parashat Kedoshim. First of all, Rosh Chodesh Tov to everyone. Before I forget, Rosh Chodesh Tov. If you forgot to say Ya'aleh v'yavo, you don't repeat. But tomorrow, if you forget, you have to repeat. So be careful. Try not to forget, because tonight is Rosh Chodesh, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh, and on Shabbos is Rosh Chodesh. So we have 2 days of Rosh Chodesh. So please remember, Mishenichnas Adar marbim besimcha. And the mystical rabbi said that the simcha start from the moment that we do Shabbat Mevorchim. That means that the simcha start from the moment that we ask and we announce on Parashat, on Chodesh Adar. That means that's when the simcha already starts. So Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll see only, and we hear only good news. We don't going to hear any more bad news. Okay, introduction to the Parsha. In Parashat Mishpatim, as you all know, there is 53 mitzvot. 23 of them is a positive command, and 30 of those mitzvot are the negative command. There is 118 verses in the Parashat Mishpatim. There is 4 chapters in Parashat Mishpatim, just the introduction just to Parashat Mishpatim. On Sunday, the 7th on Sivan, on the year 2448 for the creation, and a midday, Moshe Rabbeinu actually go up to heaven, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to spend 40 days and 40 nights to receive the Holy Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does it mean to receive the Holy Torah? The secret of the Torah. Yeshua bin Nun, that was the second command, that was his person that used to serve him. He actually accompanied Moshe Rabbeinu until the age of Mount Sinai, and that's where he built his tent, and that's where he camped. Until Moshe Rabbeinu will come down from Mount Sinai, that's where Yeshua bin Nun actually waited to Moshe Rabbeinu. The next thing, so who's going to lead the Jewish people now? Because Moshe Rabbeinu up in heaven. Yeshua bin Nun sitting on the edge of Mount Sinai. So who's going to lead Bnei Israel? So Hazal explained that here Aharon, a Kohen, and Hur was the son of Miriam, they was the one that took over Moshe and Yeshua bin Nun, these two. And they the one that was leading the Bnei Israel until Moshe Rabbeinu going to come down from the mountain. Hazal in a Midrash Tanhuma, in Parashat Tetzaveh, in chapter 10, listen what Hazal tell us, that all Parashat Mishpatim, all the Parsha that we're going to read on Shabbos, Parashat Mishpatim, okay, been told to Bnei Israel on a Sunday, on the 7th of Sivan. Just before Moshe Rabbeinu gone up to the mountain, he told all of this Parsha with all the mitzvot, with all the law, with all the Mishpatim, the mitzvot, to Bnei Israel on the 7th of Sivan in a year, on a Sunday, on the year 2448 for the creation. That's introduction to the Parsha. Now, Be'ezrat Hashem, na'aseh v'natzliach, v'Hashem alenu berachamav yarviach, we're starting the Parsha. ואלה המשפטים אשר תשים לפניהם.
These are the ordinances that you shall place before them.
Okay. If you look, it's ve'ele. The Torah starts with the word ve'ele. It doesn't say ele, those are. And those are the Mishpatim. And many of the Mefarshim ask, why does it say that? So Rashi HaKadosh says something very extraordinary. I'm going to read Rashi, I translate it, and then we'll move from there to try to understand. Rashi HaKadosh says, Kol makom shene'emar ele, every place that it say ele, those, if is something been mentioned before, pasal et harishonim. That means that he erased the first what he said. If he says something at the beginning, and then he repeat and he say ele, the first thing that he said does not exist. He erased them. But when it says ve'ele, if it says ve'ele with vav hibur and those, okay, it's come to add up on what it's been mentioned before. And we have to understand what does it mean. Rashi continue and say, Ma rishonim misinai af ele misinai. Rashi say, what is the first thing that Bnei Israel heard? Also, what they hear here in this parsha, they're also from Sinai. What does it mean? That means that here Rashi come to tell us, first of all, that Bnei Israel heard the 10 Commandments. Now it's come and say that all the law between a man to his fellow friend, Ben Adam lahavero, between man and his fellow friend. So Rashi come and say all of those law that you're going to read in the parsha, they also come from Mount Sinai. We have to understand what did Rashi have to say that. Why is it so important? So Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Psachim, Masechet Zvachim, in 116 folio 1, there Hazal says something extraordinary. Chazal say that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Mount Sinai given the 10 Commandments, we all know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu given it with a sound and thundering, he put like a mist inside the cloud. The entire world gone to panic. The entire world gone to Bilam HaRasha, the Midrash say, in the Gemara. And the Chazal say in the Gemara that the entire world gone to Bilam, and they were scared. And he said to him, Bilam, did you hear this thundering? Did you hear this lightning? Is HaKadosh Baruch Hu planning to bring again flood to the world? That's the Gemara. What answered them this wicked person? Look how he answered them. He knew everything, and he answered them like this. He bring them actually the verse that David HaMelech wrote in Tehillim, in chapter 29, verse 10. What did David HaMelech say? Hashem lamabul yashav vayeshev Hashem melech leolam. What does it mean? That here he told them that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised that he will never bring flood to the world again. That means he will never destroy the world with flood. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu already promised that, so what is all of this lightning and thundering and that mist cloud that the entire world see? What's happening here? You know what Bilam answered them? Bilam said to them, HaKadosh Baruch Hu given the Holy Torah that he have Tatka'at Dorot, that means 974 years, 74 generation, not years. Before that he decided to give it to Bnei Israel, he was studying the Torah. He having a beautiful time with it. He was enjoying himself. Now he's going to give it to his nation. Who's his nation? Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. He says, wait, I don't understand. You telling me that HaKadosh Baruch Hu given the Torah to Bnei Israel? He said, yes. He said that that's what you hear and what you seeing, the lightning and the thundering, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing now is giving the Torah to Bnei Israel. So what's the Hidush here? That's so far on a Pshat of the Dvar. The Mefarshim explains something extraordinary. He say that we know that all the mitzvot that we have in the Torah, that we saw in Aseret HaDibrot, Lo yeh lecha Elohim acherim, that you should not have another God, respect your parents, you should not murder, you should not steal, and etc. But if we look at the mitzvot that we have in this parsha, they're different mitzvot. A lot of mitzvot ben adam lahavero, between man and his fellow friend. He said that here HaKadosh Baruch Hu come to say that something extraordinary. Listen what Chazal say. Chazal say that the people can think maybe the 10 commands that Bnei Israel received on Mount Sinai, they're the only one. The rest of the mitzvot that we're reading now in this parsha, okay, they never been given on Mount Sinai. What does it mean? That maybe those laws and those mitzvot, they been given by a human being. Come the Torah and tell us, ve'ele ha-mitzvot. What it mean, ve'ele ha-mitzvot? Sorry, ve'ele ha-mishpatim. Those are the laws. What it mean, those are the laws? That mean the law that I'm telling you in this parsha, and the law that you hear in Parashat Yitro, the 10 Commandments, they all come from where? From Mount Sinai. That means Chazal come to tell us that as much that it was so important, the law in Parashat Yitro, that they received it on Mount Sinai, and the entire world hear about it, those laws that in Parashat Mishpatim, they're as important. And where do we learn that? From Vav HaHibur. Vav HaHibur, it's the latest Vav that come before the word Ele. That's mean ve'ele, to add up, to tell you, what did I give him Bnei Israel and Mount Sinai? The 10 Commandments are also given him also those laws and mitzvot. I saw another beautiful commentary from Rabbi Yitzhak Meir Alter. Rabbi Yitzhak Meir Alter was the first Rebbe for the Gur movement. Okay, he born around 221 years ago in Poland, and there's a book that's called Hidushei Harim. Hidushei Harim, it's what the Hidushim that wrote the Rim. What it means, the Rim? Harim is Hey Resh Yud Mem Sofit. What does it mean? Harav, listen to that. Harav Yitzhak Meir. That's what's mean Harim. So when you see Hidushei Harim, remember that it's referring Harav, that's mean the Rabbi, Yitzhak Meir. That's what it means. And he bring a different explanation to what Rashi said. And he said like this. Or a matter of fact, he come to add up. He did not different, he just adding up. And he says like this. He said, many people that will read the Parashat Yitro will think that the 10 Commandments only come from heaven. The same like we explained. The other mitzvot that we have, the 603 mitzvot that we have in the Torah, the extra, okay, they may be a man-made one. Because people might gonna come to the wrong conclusion. Which say that you should not steal, you should not murder. Not only that, if you see the donkey of your fellow friends collapsing under the weight that you put on him, that you obligate, it's all humanitarian. That it's all man-made, Chas v'shalom. No. Say that Rabbi Yitzhak Meir Alter, he said like this. It said the command in the Torah might gonna look to you and make sense to you, like a human being made them, but not. The Torah is not all the mitzvot in the Torah, that's the correct way to say it, that they're not man-made. It's all, and we obligate to fulfill them not because it might gonna help my fellow friend, it might gonna help my fellow brother or family, and etc. No, it's because HaKadosh Baruch Hu command us, we obligate to do it. And he said, and that's what he said, ve'ele. What it means, ve'ele, to add up, that you must make sure that people are not gonna come to the wrong conclusion and think that the humanitarian mitzvot that we have between one person to another person, they're handmade or man-made, not handmade, man-made. That's what it means. It's come to contradict any ideas of people that the rest of the mitzvot that we have in the Torah, not the 10 Commandments, they, Chas v'shalom, by man-made. And that's what it means. Now I'm going to move to verse 6. I'm going to skip a little bit. And the same chapter, chapter 21, verse 6, to those of you that have the Chumash. And I'm going to read here. And we'll see something very interesting in that verse. Mark, I want you to read it slowly because there's some words that I'm not sure that are correct. I have the right translation in English. I'll read it anyway. V'igisho אדוניו אל האלוהים, והגישו אל הדלת, או אל המזוזה, ורצה אדוניו את אוזנו במרצע, ועבדו לעולם.
Then his master shall bring him to the court, and shall bring him to the door or to the doorpost. And his master shall bore through his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever.
Okay. So I wasn't wrong, Baruch Hashem. I thought it's right. Okay. Here the Torah tells us something very interesting. What is the Torah tell us? The Torah is speaking about Eved Ivri. What is Eved Ivri? A Jewish slave. How a person become a Jewish slave is when he steals, for example, and he being caught, and he have to pay double for what he stole. But because he doesn't have money and he being caught while the money with him and he denied at the beginning, he doesn't have to pay. So Hazal tell us that the punishment is that he's obligated to work for a master for a certain amount of money that he stole, and then he can go free. But here the Torah tell us something else. Here the Torah tell us that that slave, that Jewish slave, decide to have a master. That's the pshat of the dvarim. And the Torah tell us, listen to that, the Torah tell us certain symbol that there is here on the pasuk, and we have to understand why dafka them. And we're going to look at the Gemara, please God, in Masechet Kedushim, that I'm going to bring in different Gemarot. We look at it together, and we'll see why dafka those, the symbol. So one of the symbols that we have, he said, V'yigisho el hadelet, that he took him to the door, okay, or el mezuzah. What it means mezuzah? That's the door post, the door frame. The two frame that you have, that's called mezuzah. Okay, v'ratza, and now it means he pierced, that the master must pierce the ears of the slave. With what? The Torah tells us specifically with what? With all. And many of the Mefarshim ask, why does the Torah have to give us all of those symbols? Number one is the door or the doorpost. Number two is the ears. And number three, okay, is the all. Why is it so important that the Torah put a lot of emphasis to tell us all of those subjects or all of those ideas that how it have to be done? Number one, the symbol is the door. Number two is the ears and the all. What difference does it make to me? How does he get pierced? Why is it dafka have to be the ears, for example? Why dafka it have to be by the doorpost? Those the question of the Mefarshim ask. So Rashi HaKadosh looked into that, and immediately he decided that he's going to look into it. And Rashi HaKadosh, a matter of fact, speaking about it, and Rashi HaKadosh bring what Hazal tell us in the Gemara in Masechet Kedushim 22, folio 2, Kaf Bet Amud Bet. And he said like this, the main reason, now I'm speaking about the door or the mezuzah, that means the door frame, the door post. Why dafka there? Why dafka that? So Hazal in the Gemara explained that when Bnei Israel was in Egypt, HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded that to paint the door or to smudge the door with the blood of the korban on a doorpost. Why? That when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gonna kill the firstborn of Egypt, he will pass over the Jewish houses. That's on the pshat of the dvarim. But Hazal explained that you heard that, and you knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu command Bnei Israel to put that blood on a doorpost. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to pass over the house of Bnei Israel. What it means? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu pass over the house of Bnei Israel? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu say like this, Keli, that means because Keli Bnei Israel Avadim. That means that the main reason that I'm going to pass over the door of the Bnei Israel, the doorpost of Bnei Israel, because Bnei Israel are going to be a slave to me. That means we obligated to worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now, you as a slave decide to what? To take another master, to have another master. In that case, I have to take you to the doorpost and to pierce your ears by the doorpost. Okay. Now we have to understand why dafka the ears? Why not any other organ on the body? So Hazal explained that the main reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decide dafka the ears like this. And I'm going to read what the Gemara said. Amar Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai said, Ozen shesham'a behar Sinai, it is that heard in Mount Sinai, lo tignob, the negative command of that you should not steal. And that person stole and he became a slave, okay? Why? Because he decided to steal and he didn't have money, he became a slave. So you heard that negative command where? On Mount Sinai. Because one of the negative commands on Mount Sinai was you should not steal, and everyone heard it. And you decide to go and steal, in that case, that ears that heard that but didn't accept it or didn't want to digest that negative command, she deserved to be pierced where? By the doorpost. Okay. Now we understand why the doorpost. Now we understand also why the ears. But the question that we have to ask ourselves, the Torah tells us specifically about another object. What is the other object? Is all. Why dafka all? Why does the Torah have to tell me that I have to pierce his ears with the all? So Rashi HaKadosh, on his commentary on a Gemara now that the commentary that I saw that Rashi bring actually in a Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin, in page 22, folio 2, there Rashi say, and a matter of fact, he bringing it in the name of the Midrash, and I saw that Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim also bringing it, and they both say like this. Listen what they say. If you take the word all in Hebrew is Martzea. The gematria of Martzea is 400. The gematria of all in Hebrew is 400. Said the Mefarshim there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed the Jewish people after 400 years that Bnei Israel was in exile, not in slavery, because in hard slavery, Bnei Israel was for 210 years. So said the Mefarshim, you was in exile, you was in slavery for 400 years. And you now become a free man. HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeem you, free you from Egypt after 400 years. And you decide that you want to become a slave to a master instead of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. After all what HaKadosh Baruch Hu done to Bnei Israel after 400 years, and you couldn't understand, therefore we're going to pierce your own ears. With what? With the all. Why dafka all? Because the gematria 400. To remind that slave that he should be free. So if you look at all what we say, we see from here that the main reason that all of these subjects being chosen, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu written his holy Torah, dafka, to remind us that the person should not be a slave to anyone, should not have a master. We are the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and our master is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By that has v'shalom, a person taking for himself a different master, that's what you should do to him, to remind him that there is no other master except HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why the Torah, the Holy Torah, come and mention to us dafka the doorpost, dafka the ears, and dafka the all, that you have to pierce the ears of that slave. Okay, I would like to move on now to verse 19. And in verse 19, we see something very interesting. And a matter of fact, I'm going to do Koshia, Tirutz, and Kushia. I'm going to bring two different Gemarot. And you're going to, I hope that you will enjoy it, because I'm going to bring the Gemara in Masechet Brachot and the Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin. But first, let's read what it says. Im yakum ויתהלך בחוץ על משענתו וניקה המכה, רק שבטו ייתן ורפו ירפא.
If he gets up and goes about outside under his own power, the one who struck is absolved. Only for his lost time shall he pay, and he shall provide for healing.
Okay. So I'm going to speak in the last two words, v'rapo yirapeh. V'rapo yirapeh, Hazal in a Gemara in Masechet Brachot, page 60, folio 1. Listen what Hazal say. Hazal say, Tana deve Rabbi Ishmael, rapo yirapeh. Rabbi Ishmael say, the word, the verse that it say, rapo yirapeh, okay, v'rapo yirapeh, mikan shenitna reshut larofeh larapot. That's Rabbi Ishmael say, that from here, in a Gemara Masechet Brachot, we're learning that a person have to go to a doctor if he's sick, and here there is a permission for the doctor to cure people. In previous year, we brought different explanation, what does it mean, got a permission to cure, and all different things. But today I'm going to do it Kushia and Tirut. So we learn from here, from the Gemara in Masechet Brachot, remember page 60, folio 1. Hazal tell us that we obligated when a person's sick, he's obligated to go to the doctor to get help, to get advice that he need help, you must go. Chazal tell us something extraordinary in the Gemara in Masechet Kedushim 82 folio 1. Listen to that. Chazal there say, Hatov shebarofim legehenam. The best of the doctor must go to Gehenna. Whoa. If you look what Chazal tell us in the Gemara in Masechet Brachot, that you obligate to go to the doctor, and the doctor obligate have a permission to cure you. How come that Chazal come and tell us in a Gemara in Masechet Kedushim that the best of the doctor have to go to Gehenna? What's happening here? There's a contradiction. And many of the Mefarshim explain, how can it be? I don't understand. A doctor that saved life, many lives, and helping other people, is that his reward to go to Gehenna? What's happening here? So I saw a beautiful answer that I read actually yesterday in a book, Doresh Tzion, and I decided to bring it to you. It's a true story. It's a true story, and I would like to tell you the story. So Arav Ben Tion Mutzafi Shalita, that Shehia Le'amim Tovim, is still alive, he lives in Yerushalayim, is one of the main poskim in today in Eretz Israel, especially for the Sfaradim. And he brings a story that he heard from one of his rabbi, Rav Yaakov Ades, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha. Rav Yaakov Ades, the family come originally from Syria. But Rav Yaakov Ades was a great Mekubal, one of the big Mekubalim that was in Eretz Israel just 2 generations ago. And he told the story in the name of his rabbi, Arav Yosef Yadida Levy. Arav Yosef Yadida Levy, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, was very sick, and he needed to go to the doctor. And he gone to the doctor, and the doctor look at him and check him, and he find what was wrong with him. And he said to him, listen, you need to take those medication and that I'm going to subscribe to you. And a matter of fact, I'm going to give you the medication. The rabbi said, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The doctor continued and said, Rabbi, I don't want you to pay me. He said, but I have to pay. He said, no, I can see that you're a rabbi, you don't have a lot. I want to pay for it. The rabbi said, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. No. He said, but Rabbi, I want to ask you a question. He said, sure. Yes. How can I help? So the doctor said to him, Rabbi, how come that doctor have he knew a bit of Gemara? He said to him, how come that we got a permission, the Gemara in Masechet Brachot tell us in page 60, folio 1, that we have a permission to cure people. That when people are sick, they're obligated to come and to go to a doctor. He said, yes. He said, but there's another Gemara that say that the best of the doctor, okay, Hatov shebarofim legehenam, the best of the doctor to Gehenna. He said, is that your question that you want to ask? That's very simple, I'll answer you. And listen to what he answered him. That's a true story. He said to him that when people sin, they have to go to Gehenna. He said, yes, I know. He said some people there, from the heat, they get burned. Some people there, from the lashes, get hurt, Some people get injured differently. He said they need the best of the doctor to cure them. Do you understand me, doctor? He said that why does it say, Hatov shebarofim legehenam? He looked at it from a positive point of view. He said, you know why? He said, because they need the best doctor where? In Gehenna. Why? To cure those people. I want to tell you something else that I saw in a book that's called Imre Noam. Book Imre Noam is a book that's been written by Arav Yoram Abargel. Yoram Abargel, he died only 4 or 5 years ago. Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha. And when I read it, also yesterday, I was stunned, and I tell you why. First of all, I tell you what he writes, what he brings in the name of the Kabbalistic Rebbe. He said like this: when there is a doctor that is modest and humble, המלאך רפאל, the angel רפאל, עוזר לו למצוא את הרפואה. That means the angel Raphael standing in a side with him and giving him enough wisdom to find the right cure for that person that's coming next to him. He said not only that, listen what he continued to say. He said that sometimes when a person goes to the doctor, as he walked through the doorstep of the doctor, he feels much better. He said, you know why? Because the doctor and the patient understand that that doctor have something there. He doesn't know what. He said, you know what is it? He have siyata dishmaya. What it means siyata dishmaya? The health of Shamayim. Siyah, it's help. Dishmaya, what it means dishmaya? The help of heaven. That means Akadosh Baruch Hu saying, the angel Raphael, what it means Raphael, milshon refuah, that means it's a cure, to come to help that doctor to find the right cure for that sick person that is in the front of him. Why? It's only when he's humble and he's modest. And I will tell you a true story that happened to my family. 10 years ago, my oldest daughter, Tali, touched some of my chemical that we usually open the drain with it. It was an acid, and she was in agony and screaming, and my wife rushed her straight to a skin specialist, Dr. Gary Levy. And as she walked into the door, my wife told me, after everything finished, she said, as I walked into the door, I felt that everything gonna be 100%. I don't know why, I don't know how, but that's the feeling that I have. And today when I read her the shiur and I told her that, she said, that's exactly what I felt. As I put my feet through the front door, I knew that my daughter will be 100%. And Baruch Hashem, today my daughter doesn't have any scar. Maybe she has memory, but the skin is 100%, thanks God. And Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, given the doctor the right advice, the right idea to prescribe the right medication. And Baruch Hashem, it happened. So that's what it says, that means, say, Harav Yoram Abargel, that if the rabbi is if the doctor is modest and humble, he get the help from who? From Malach Raphael, the angel Raphael. Why Dafka Raphael? We explained. Because Raphael is milshon refuah, that the job of that angel is to bring refuah. And who going to give refuah to Avraham Avinu? Which angel? You remember we spoke about it? Malach Raphael. Because the job of Malach Raphael is to cure people. So that angel come and help that doctor that is modest and humble. He gets the help from Siyat Dishmaya. That means he gets special help that HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring down to earth to that doctor, to prescribe the right medication, to even to find out what's wrong with that person. Because many of the time, doctor doesn't know what's wrong with the patient. But he said that to find what's wrong with the patient. And that's what it means in this pasuk, v'rapo yirapeh, that the obligation of the doctor to be modest and humble. Let's move on, and now I'm moving to chapter 22. Mark chapter 22, verse 22. I'm skipping quite a bit because there's a lot of, there's 4 parshiot and there's many verses in our parsha. So I'm skipping now to chapter 22, verse 22. And there it says like this: אם ענו תענה אותו. אם צעוק יצעק אליי, שמוע אשמע צעקתו.
If you dare to cause him pain, for if he shall cry out to me, I shall surely hear his outcry.
So here the Torah speak about when people actually upsetting, torturing, or insulting the, number one, the convert, number two, the widow, and number three, the orphan. If you look here in that verse, the Torah repeat the word, ano te'aneh, tza'ok yitz'ak, shamoa eshma. And many of the Mefarshim say, whoa, what's happening here? The Torah not enough to say that I will hear. You have to repeat it that you'll hear it twice. That if he'll scream twice. Or has v'shalom, if you upset them or torture them twice. Why does the Torah have to repeat? So I'm going to bring two different commentaries, but one going to explain the other one. So the first one, why is it repeat himself? We ask. So that question been asked by some of the Mefarshim, and today I'm going to bring the commentary and the idea from Rav Yaakov Baal HaTurim. Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, born around 751 years ago in Germany. And he explained from that the Torah repeat the word, ano te'aneh, tza'ok yitz'ak, shamoa eshma. It's come to tell you something very important. If has v'shalom, and I say has v'shalom, Rabotai, it's very, very careful. When people upset, or embarrass, or torture, a convert, a widow, or an orphan, say Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, the punishment is double from what you're supposed to get. He said that's why it's mentioned double. That's why the Torah repeat everything. That means that the punishment will be double. We have to ask ourselves, okay, if has v'shalom we done that, not us, someone else, the goyim done it, they're going to be punished twice. But why dafka twice? And why dafka those three? Because we know there is four that belong to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Levy, Hager, Hayatom, ve'almana. That means Levi, the Levi. Hager, it's the convert. Hayatom is the orphan. Ha'almana is the widow. But here, look, the Levi is not exist. The Levite moved aside. He doesn't mention. We know that if you do anything to those four, include the Levi, immediately HaKadosh Baruch Hu punish. Whoever torture one of them, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't wait. The punishment come 1, 2, 3. He doesn't wait. The punishment is like a boomerang. But here, when it's come to repeat, look, the Levite doesn't mention. And many of the Mefarshim ask why. I understand he's for the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But suddenly the Levite you put aside. Why dafka those three so important to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That they are the convert, the orphan, and the widow. Why are they so important? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you has v'shalom, a person done something wrong to them, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will punish them double. So I show a beautiful commentary of Al-Sheikh HaKadosh. Al-Sheikh HaKadosh is Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh. Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh born in Turkey in a city of Andripoli around 514 years ago. And he say a beautiful answer. Listen to that and you'll understand how dangerous is to upset any one of those three. Say Al-Sheikh HaKadosh, if you look at the convert, he doesn't have any more family. Why? Because when he converting, he left his family. He doesn't have anyone. Who he have? If he's by himself, himself. If he have a wife, it's him and his wife and his kids. But he doesn't have family that he can talk to open his heart. He said, a widow, who she can talk? No one. She doesn't have a husband. Her orphan doesn't have a father. He said, when you upset them, you cause them so much pain that you actually remind them another pain. What is the other pain? that they don't have no one to go to. They don't have family. They don't have a husband. They don't have a father. Why? Because if you embarrass a normal human being, he can go home, he can speak to his wife, he can speak to his kids, he can speak to his family, or he can speak to his mother, to his father. They can protect them. He said, but that you're embarrassing the convert, who are you going to speak? That you tortured him, or has v'shalom upset him, who are you going to talk? No one. So he said, I have no one to talk. It's remind them, double pain. He said the widow is the same. She said, I wish that I have a husband that can protect me, that can help me. So she remember double tzoros. Number one, the tzoros that people torturing her. Number two, that she doesn't have a husband. The same with the orphan. He said, I wish that I have a father to protect me. So they remember the double tzoros that they have. In that case, Al Sheikh HaKadosh, the punishment is double. Why? Because you're causing them a double pain. The pain number one, that you're embarrassing them, that you upset them, or you're torturing them, that's pain number one. But the second pain, that they remember that suddenly they don't have someone to protect them, that's another pain. He said, in that case, say Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh, the Torah come and warn you. Be careful, be careful, be careful when it's come to those. Not that has v'shalom, that you're allowed to do it to other people, because Chazal tell us, a person that embarrass his fellow friends in public and he doesn't done tshuva for it, doesn't have a share for the world to come. So that's to a normal human being. How much so when you do it to those three? HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes so full of anger, so cross, that he punished lo alenu, that person double. So from here we learn something very important, Rabotai, that we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is full of mercy and compassion. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu see that, Has v'shalom, we torturing any one of those three, because he's full of compassion and mercy, the punishment is double. Therefore, we have to be careful when it's come to those three. What it means, those three, I repeat again, the convert, the orphan, and the widow. Has v'shalom, if they say, even if they say something wrong to you, keep quiet. Don't say anything to them, because you don't know how you're going to upset them. And if you upset them, the punishment is double. And now we can understand why everything repeated in that verse, double. Let's move on to verse 24. And in verse 24, we see something very interesting that I don't know how many of you take notice of it. Im kesef talve et ammi, et ha'ani ammecha, lo tiye lo kenoshe, lo tisimun alav neshech.
When you lend money to my people, to the poor person who is with you, do not act towards him as a creditor. Do not lay interest upon him.
Okay. Look what Rashi said. I always start with Rashi. Rabotai, why am I always, not always, most of the time start with Rashi? Because Rashi writes like a head letter, and we have to try to find the code behind what Rashi tried to tell us. So here Rashi bringing us actually what Rabbi Ishmael said in Machilta. Machilta, it's a midrash halacha. What it means midrash halacha? It's a midrash of law. And Rashi say like this: Kol im shebatorah, wherever it say if, okay, that if you should lend money, okay, it's an option. But he say here, when it say if you should lend money, it's not an option, it's an obligation. So you learn from here that there is an obligation to lend money to a Jewish person, to give him money. It's not an obligation, it's not an option, it's an obligation. And many of the Mefarshim say, so why is the Torah tell us here if she should say that you obligate to lend money to a poor Jewish person. So Chazal tell us in a Midrash, in 3 places it mentioned if, but they're not option, they are obligation. And one of them is here. And we have to understand, why is the Torah in that case say if and not it's an obligation? And I saw a beautiful commentary that brought by Rabbi Yitzhak Dona Barbanel. Rabbi Yitzhak Dona Barbanel, born in the city of Lisbon. He born in Portugal, okay, that was around 584 years ago. He was amongst the Jews that have to leave Spain, gone to exile. Who he was? He was the finance minister to the King Alfonso. King Alfonso begged him. He said, please, you're allowed to stay. All the rest of the Jews said. He said to him, wherever my nation go, I will go with them. I cannot leave my nation. You want me to stay? My nation must stay. But his wife, Isabella, was a horrible woman. And anyway, so Rabbi Yitzhak Dona Barbanel gone to exile with all the Jews. So in his commentary on the Torah, he says something amazing. Listen what he said. He said that the main reason that the Torah chose to use that language, if, okay, instead of obligation, that means that there is an option here. He said like this, you know why? Because sometimes when you want to give a loan or you want to give something that you obligate to give money to the poor person, maybe that poor person will say to you, I don't want it. I don't want your money. Or maybe you cannot afford to give such kind of money to that person as a gift. So Kamin is saying, in that case, because there is 2 chances. Chances number 1, that the poor person himself going to reject. Number 2, you might not going to be able to give that kind of money to the poor person as a gift. That means it's not alone you learn from here. What do we learn from here? We're learning that the Torah actually commands us to give money to a poor Jewish person. It's not alone. So Hazal say, you know why, say Rabbi Yitzhak Dona Barbanel, you know why the Torah use the word if, im, that's an option? Because there's 2 problems here. Might the poor person not going to accept the money that you're going to give him as a gift? Number 2, you might not going to be afford to give him this kind of money. Say, you know why it's a if? Because nachon that you obligate to give him money to the poor person, and that's what there is tzedakah. But you know why it's a if? It's a if because number 1, the poor person doesn't want, and number 2, you can't afford it to give such a big sanlam of money. He said, therefore, you should lend him the money, and not only that, you should not take interest, because that's a negative command from the Torah. And not only that, when you give the money, you should give it with a smiley face, with a nice behavior. That means from here, we learn how important is it to give money to the poor people, that we obligated. But why does it say that if you lend, because he might, that poor person have too much pride and he doesn't want to take it. Or it might, this kind of a sanlam you don't have with you. You can't afford it. So you rather give it as what? As a loan. So from here we learn something extraordinary. The Torah come and teach us derech eretz. That nachon that you obligate to give money to the poor person. But you have to remember his feeling, the poor person. He might not going to accept it. He might not going to be close to you to say, listen, give me the money. And when you give money to the poor person, because he needs it now, the Torah obligates us to give him. He might going to reject it. So what do you say? It's a loan. Whenever you can, you pay back. You don't take interest. and the most important, with a smiley face. Make sure that you're not embarrassing him. And that's why the change of the mitzvah come. If, instead of, give the poor person. From here we learn the derech eretz that the Torah teaches. Now I'm going to skip again. I'm going to jump to chapter 23. Mark chapter 23, verse 7. I'm skipping because I want to catch up as much as we can. And here it says something very interesting. It says like this in verse 7, מדבר שקר תרחק, ונקי וצדיק אל תהרוג, כי לא אצדיק רשע.
Distance yourself from a false word. Do not execute the innocent or the righteous, for I shall not exonerate the wicked.
Okay, here we see that the Torah basically tells us that you should not lie. Let's make it simple. According to the Pshat of Dvarim, we should not lie. And I want to bring a story that to demonstrate to us what can happen when a person doesn't lie. And this story you can find brought by Rabbi Yosef Albo. Rabbi Yosef Albo lived in Spain. Yes, he lived in Spain. It's not sure where he born. He born around 641 years ago, but he lived in Spain, we know. And he wrote the famous book that's called Sefer HaIkarim. And he tells the story about himself. It's a true story. Listen to that and you'll understand where a person can come, he can reach when talking true. He said that one day a Jewish person came to him, and that Jewish person, lo alenu, was full of averot. He used to steal, he used to eat non-kosher, never mind mitzvot, never mind keeping Shabbat. And he came to the rabbi and he saw that he's a great rabbi, and he said to him, Rabbi, give me one mitzvah, at least that I can try and keep to it. So he said, yes, I can give you one mitzvah. He said, it's in our Torah, in Parashat, in Sefer Shmot, Parashat Mishpatim, in chapter 23, verse 7, it says, midvar sheker tirhak. Don't talk lie. When it's come to speaking lie, don't mention it. Avoid it. Avoid it like you avoid fire. He said, that's the only mitzvah. He said, yeah. He said, in that case, I'm taking out myself, it's easy. He said, are you sure? He said, yeah. Rabbi Yosef Albo continued the story and he said like this. He said, what's happened with that person? Listen what he said. He says that that person that was so surprised that to take on himself that mitzvah, the following morning was already planning to go, to steal, to rob. And when people said to him, where are you going? He couldn't tell them that he's going to steal. He was embarrassed. What did he say? He said, I'm going to shul. Ah, you're going to shul? Okay. So he gone to shul because he mustn't lie. When he come to shul, people at shul saw a new person. Hello, how are you? No? Did you daven this morning? Did you put tefillin? He said, no. So, okay, come put tefillin. And the same thing happened. And they all put the tefillin. And he said, one mitzvah led them to another mitzvah. Until, because he kept that mitzvah of not lying, that mitzvah in the end, say Rabbi Yosef Albo, listen to that, led them in the power of that mitzvah that he rectified all of his mistake. That means when not lying can lead you has v'shalom, if you lie, can lead you has v'shalom right down. By that person kept the mitzvah of not lying, he rectified many of his averot because he couldn't lie. By that he couldn't lie, help him to grow up. And now we can understand why the Torah tells us to refrain from speaking lie. because that can bring you down. I would like to conclude in verse 25. In verse 20, chapter 23, verse 25, we see something very interesting. And the Torah tells us here something extraordinary. Look what it said. ועבדתם את אדוני אלוהיכם, וברך את לחמך ואת מימיך, והסרתי מחלה מקרבך.
You shall worship Hashem your God, and he shall bless your bread and your water, and I shall remove illness from your midst.
So, if you look carefully, the Mefarshim say something extraordinary. If you look at that verse, it starts in plural, ועבדתם את אדוני אלוהיכם, plural. He said, but when it's come to blessing, the blessing in singularly, וברך את לחמך, he'll bless your bread, not everyone's bread, your bread, and your water, and he will remove sickness from you personally. Many of the Mefarshim say, what's happening in this verse? It sounds a bit funny here. What's cooking on it? You start with plural, that we all should worship you, but when the blessing comes, it's each one individual. How come? Many of the Mefarshim say, what's happening here? How come? And I'm going to bring you an example. And with that, we're going to try to develop the idea about that verse. Hazal tell us something extraordinary. And look at it this morning. This morning, how many million Jews done Netilat Yadayim? How many million Jews put a talis? How many million Jews this morning put a tefillin? Here I'm going to stop. I'm not going to continue. There's many more mitzvot. Said the Mefarshim like this. Take those mitzvot, and I'm going to answer you. They're all done, they're all the same mitzvah. They're all vas. They all put tzitzit. They all put tefillin. Is the reward that each one of them going to get for the mitzvah that they done, is it all the same? The Mefarshim say, definitely not. Why not? Avas, he vas. I put a tzitzit, he put a tzitzit, he put a talit. I put a tefillin, he put a tefillin. What the difference? Say, no. Each one, it's according to the difficulty that you have. There's many people that for them to wake up early in the morning, it's nothing. They wake up. They're like a Swiss clock. But there's people that's very difficult to them. Why? Because the Yetzer Hara of sleeping, it's very hard on them. They love to sleep. So the mitzvah that this one do, compared to this one, it's a different. There's other people that when they come to shul, they have to drive kilometers. They have to leave much earlier, and still they're stuck with a traffic jam. Where? To reach to shul, to put a tefillin. He say, you can't compare the mitzvah that one do compared to the other one. Although that they do the same mitzvah, it's the same thing, but the reward is different. Said the Mefarshim, that's what that verse come to tell you. We're all going to worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu the same, maybe, but it's how much effort each one of us put, how much effort you have to put towards worshiping HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when it's come to the reward, Berechet Lachmecha, he will bless you to what you need, not what Chaim Yankel need or what Chaim Shmerel need. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the blessing that you need. What does it mean, the blessing? The prosperity that is good for you. The bread and the water that you need. He doesn't give you not less, not more. Why? Because he can give you too much. Your mind going to change your feeling. There's many when when they're rich and they're doing well, they forget HaKadosh Baruch. There is others that dafka when they're rich and dafka when they're doing well, they're remembering HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because they say, who given me all of that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they're frightened to lose it. So they're worshipping HaKadosh Baruch Hu with such a Emunah with such a dvikut, because they know everything is from him. But there's others that has v'shalom, that they made everything. And they think that they done everything. And because they think that they done everything, okay, everything is in his hand. He think that he made the money. He's the eye doctor. I done that business. I built the business. So when you have money, he forget HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So said the Mefarshim, here the Torah tell you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you all going to worship him the same. But when it's come to the blessing, he give each one individually what he need. V'hasiroti mahala mikirbecha. What it mean, v'hasiroti mahala mikirbecha? When it's come has v'shalom, when it's come has v'shalom to cure you, he cured to the sickness that you need. He doesn't cure a general, he doesn't give a general antibiotic. He give exactly the medicine, the cure that you need. And that's what Hazal say here, that when it's come to worshiping HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we all worship the same. It's look to us like we all worshiping the same. But in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's different, because he know how much effort Chaim Yankov have to put, how much effort Chaim Shmerol have to put, because for each one it's different. For some people to go and daven, it's a big mission. It's difficult. So he's doing everything to conquer the evil inclination out of him to worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when it's come to the reward, HaKadosh Baruch Hu reward each one of us. When it's come to prosperity, he gives us what we need, each one individually. And Has v'Shalom, if people, the Jewish people sick, he gives them the cure that they need, exactly what they need. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that we should all merit to worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu with full emunah, to conquer that Yetzer Hara that we have on us, that to do every mitzvah with coolness. We should do it with full of passion and excitement. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will see it, send us Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our days, and we see the great building of the third Bet HaMikdash in our days. Amen. Ken Yeh Ratzon. Now, if there is any question, with pleasure, would like to try to answer those of you that have a question. Bechavod.
Rabbi Levy.
Ken, bechavod.
Adrian speaking.
How are you, Mr. Taylor? How are you?
Baruch Hashem. Question. You mentioned when you started stealing, and you sort of targeted the concept of one stealing from another, an item or money. But stealing doesn't necessarily be something like that. You can steal someone's time.
No, so what's the difference?
You could, stealing is a big word. It's not defined that stealing a commodity or money from someone.
Sorry, Guy, speak a lot.
I can't hear you.
I'm going to mute everyone, Adrian, sorry. Yeah, so you can unmute yourself, Adrian, sorry, because it was a lot of noise in the background. Don't focus when there is noise. So you say that stealing can be stealing time. Yeah, what's the difference? Stealing is stealing. Tell me, if I steal from you 1 rand, or I steal 100 rand, or I steal 1,000,000 rand, there is any different? No.
It's the same thing.
If I steal your time, and I let you waste your time, that means time is money. Like they say today in the world, time is money. So I stole from you.
But why is it linked to money? You can steal a person's...
Not necessary to anything, because it's in the Torah, lo tignov. Lo tignov, in one place in Parashat Yitro, it's a lo tignov. In Parashat Vayet Hanan, in Sefer Dvarim, it's a lo tignovu. There is 2 different meanings there. One is stealing, human trafficking, lo tignov. When it's a lo tignovu, it's referring to money. It's not only that you steal specifically money. Not necessary. Tommy, human trafficking allowed. It's one of the mitzvah in the Torah, the negative command in the Torah, that if you've been fined dealing with human trafficking, the punishment is death. There's no other punishment. The Torah tells you specifically when you read it on Shabbos that if you stole Chas v'Shalom someone and you wanted to use them for human trafficking, the punishment is death. So you can say, listen, what did I do? I just used them. Yes, you used them, but you decide that you God. You're allowed to deal in human trafficking. That's a little bit depth. I'm going with you a bit deep because I know that you love depth. Who given you the permission to be God? You'll decide who's going to be a slave, who's not going to be a slave. I'm speaking nicely. There's other kind of human trafficking. You decide that you become God, that you can use other people. That means you're using human trafficking because you took the law to yourself. That means there's no more God up there in heaven. Do you understand what's the difference?
I understand the human traffic, but stealing can be many things. I can speak Lashon Hara about somebody, and it's whether it's true or not is irrelevant. But you actually destroy, let's say, his reputation. I've stolen his reputation.
Never mind. You destroyed him. That's it. You destroyed him. You can be here in South Africa, and I many times mention it, and you can speak Lashon Hara about Chaim Yankel, that he's in South America or in Israel, doesn't make a difference. And you destroyed his life. You destroyed his life by talking Lashon Hara. Lo motzi Lashon Hara, talking Lashon Hara. There's a difference between motzi Shem Ra and Lashon Hara. Motzi Shem Ra is a lie, lying. But here I'm talking just Lashon Hara. You can destroy a person. So what, you're not stealing? You stole his livelihood, that's it. You wiped him off, you erased him.
So the question then is, if you're using, talking about Lashon Hara, about Chaim Yankel or Moshe Gross from Tel Aviv or from wherever, Peru, Lo Chashuv, if you're talking Lashon Hara, if it's the truth, it's still no good, but if it's a Lashon Hara, which is a lie, is it worse or the same?
Lashon Hara is not a lie. Lashon Hara is true. Motzi Shem Ra is a lie. Motzi, it's you created something that wasn't. There's two different. There's Lashon Hara, that it's true. You're telling the truth. Motzi Shem Ra is a lie. That's the difference. That's the definition between them. You follow?
But the net result is the same. The punishment is the same.
No, how can be the same? If you're saying that Chaim Yankel, okay, done something that he never done, that means not only that you're lying, not only that you speak in Lashon Hara, you're also lying. But Lashon Hara, you're not lying, you're telling the truth. You see the difference?
I see the difference, but we talk about the punishment aspect.
You're also lying.
The punishment aspect.
It's two averot, sorry. I just needed to stretch myself. You understand?
Okay. All right. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
I hope that I answered that. Any other question, Rabota, regarding the Parsha? If anyone have, just unmute yourself and then...
Hello, it's Anthony.
Hello, Mr. Antonio. So nice to hear you.
Thanks a lot. Why is divorcees not mentioned in the vulnerable people of widows, orphans, and converts? The divorcees are not mentioned. Why is that? They're also vulnerable.
Okay, because divorcee after all, if she divorced from her husband, she can marry other person. Nachon? Maybe she married other person. Divorcee, it's not necessary that she doesn't have no one to look after her. A widow, in that stage of her life, she's a widow. You understand? She have no one to look after her. Her orphan, in that stage of his life, is an orphan. And Hazal, there is a question, until what age is an orphan, or until when he's in a status of orphan. There's a different mahloket there in the Gemara. But the question is that you're asking, why a divorcee? A divorcee, usually, it's not necessary that she doesn't get a backup. That's that the husband left. There's many divorces that the husband left, but he still look after the kids. He still look after the wife. They just can't be together. Here,
Okay.
it's not matter if she can or she can't. She doesn't have an option. She's a widow. Or the orphan is a widow. You understand? The convert, when they're converting, it's not simple. They have to leave everything that they believe for how many years that they was in a different religion. And suddenly you tell them, listen, hey, pass up, 1 second, it's finished. How can you do that? You know how difficult is it? And when you do that to those people, it's very hard. So the Torah come and teach us how to respect those people. You follow?
Yes, thanks very much. Thanks.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. Any other question, Rabotai? I don't know if I answered.
Rabbi Stephen Kabatsnik, hi.
Shalom Aleichem, Stephen. How are you?
Aleichem shalom. Well, yourself. Rabbi, you're saying that it's forbidden to engage in human traffic, but the whole concept of slavery afterwards isn't that engaging in human trafficking?
Whoa. No. Whoa. Stephen, where did you go on? I think that you gone. You're now flying to the heaven. Whoa. Let's. I think turn off the engine. There's a big difference. Human trafficking, it's against his wish. And you know what's happening in human trafficking. I don't have to be specific about it. A slave, him himself done. He's told, you're obligated to pay back. So if you stole 100 rand, what is the value of 100 rand on a slave today? I'm just giving a number, you know, I'm just saying, I'm not... So it's 1 day work, let's call it, okay? So you become slave to 1 day. You understand what I'm saying? Why? Because you're obligated to pay your debts.
I'm talking about
human trafficking, there's no debts.
And I'm talking about more like the Gentile slave,
No. Wait. Eved Ivri, let's first understand, and that's what I'm trying to explain, Stephen. Eved Ivri, it's because he made a mistake. Okay?
Non-Jewish, what about non-Jewish slaves?
Now, when we go into Eved Knani, to other slaves that you're referring to, nachon?
Yeah.
That's what you're referring.
Nachon.
Who?
Right.
I didn't force them to become slave.
But the captives and all.
But,
no, but if
Stephen, listen to me to the end, and then you'll understand. If you listen to Hazal say, "Kana lo eved, kana lo adon." A person that took himself as a slave, he made a master to himself. To you, it sounds like he's your slave, but you have a master now. You know that. You learned that in a Gemara. Because when you have a slave, לדוגמה עבד עברי, if you sleep on orthopedic mattress, before you sleep on orthopedic mattress, the slave have to have orthopedic mattress. You eat burvus, you eat biltong, you eat a steak, whatever you eat, you have to have. Do you understand? Now, when it's come to Eved Knani, I didn't force him. He decided to become a slave. Why? Because he wanted to earn money. Human trafficking, there's no money. Human trafficking, you take a person, you degrade them, and you know what they do to them. Lo aleinu, chas v'shalom.
Yeah, I do.
You understand? But here, he paid.
But weren't in the days gone by, weren't non-Jewish slave bought and sold from one owner to another?
I missed you for 1 second. Repeat it. What?
I say in the days gone by, even in the Jewish weren't slaves sold from one owner to another owner? No, I'm talking about non-Jewish, not talking about Jewish slaves. I'm talking about non-Jewish slaves.
I understand what it means sold. We have to understand the concept. If you have a slave and you have a slave, let's say X, your friend comes to you and say, listen, I know that this person that works for you is actually a good worker. I need a worker. I'm willing to buy it from you. What did you pay for him? He said, when I bought him, I paid, let's say, 100 rand. He said, I'm willing to give you 500 rand. Give him to me. He can work for me. I need a guy like that. You ask the guy, do you want to go and work for him? He say, yeah. So go, thank you, pay me my money. There's no human trafficking here. Has v'shalom to think like this. It's completely different because that slave get paid. That slave get a place to sleep, get food, doesn't get tortured. And Hazal tell us that if you has v'shalom harm the slave, you obligate to pay him.
Or otherwise he actually goes free.
Trafficking, what do you pay them? Sorry? Human
I'd say
trafficking, you don't pay.
No, I'm not saying, but one of the things also I never remember about a slave, if you break his tooth or you break, he can actually go free.
No, that's what I'm saying. You pay him. That's that you pay them whatever. If you want to pay money, ירפא, כן? That עין תחת עין. This is not human trafficking. When you take a human trafficking, you know what you do to them?
You totally degrade them, yeah.
You destroy them. Here, if you hit them, and by mistake, you, has v'shalom, you broke to the slave's teeth, shen tahat shen. What is the value of the teeth? That's what you'll have to pay. You know? Has v'shalom to think human trafficking. I hope that the answer.
But then you have you have also the case of the captive. When you go out to war and you find the captive woman and you have to bring her into your house. I know she's still.
No, that's not. Rega. You're doing now fruit salad. Wait, let's.
Because they're all relating to slavery.
רגע, בחביקי וסני. זה כי תצא למלחמה וראית אישה יפת תואר. That's what you're referring, נכון?
Yeah, I am. Okay. And you bring her to your house?
כי תצא למלחמה. Hazal say, who's those one that used to go to war? Tzaddikim. So how are they going to sin? It's not... But let's go on a pshat of the dvarim, like you saying, that he saw a beautiful woman, velakahta. What does it mean, velakahta? You taking her in her permission. What does it mean in her permission? Because it said that the only reason that you're taking her, that she must convert. What does it mean must convert? You're taking her, yerach yamim, that 30 days. Why dafka yerach? Because they worships other gods. Okay, she must she mustn't cut her hair, mustn't cut her nails. You know what I'm saying? She mustn't beauty herself. Why did Hazal say all of that? It might, that kind of woman that you saw, suddenly you see it's not the one that you saw in a war that she was looking and she put all the makeups and she dressed very nicely, Haz v'shalom. No, it's not this woman. Hazal tell you specifically, then you must send her free. What human trafficking? I'm taking her in her own wish. That's that I have the option to decide if I want her or not. She have also the option. Maybe she doesn't want me.
Yeah.
You follow? There's a big difference. Ki tetzeh lamilchama. What does it mean, ki tetzeh lamilchama? V'shavita isha yefat toar. What does it mean, shavita? You took one of the capturers was a beautiful woman, and you decide now that she's one of them that you want to take as a wife. What does it mean as a wife? You obligate to look after her. You obligated to convert her. You can't just take her because she's an object. This is not, what do you call it, ISIS here. We're not ISIS, has v'shalom. Yeah. If you took her, you give her 30 days. That you decide if she's good for you, and she must decide if it's working together. But if it's not working together, arrivederci.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the difference. Okay, I hope that I explained about human trafficking and slave. I hope that I make the definition.
Yeah. Okay.
יישר כוח. Okay, Rabota, any other question? I hope that I can answer. If I can, I will try. If not, no question. Okay, I would like to take the opportunity to wish all of you, each one individually, Rosh Chodesh Tov, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha, that please God that we should all be in Simcha, but please God that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say, Dai letzarotenu, enough to our chorus, and will take this horrible plague that's killing millions of people all over the world, from the world, and we'll see speedily Mashiach Titkenu in our days, and he built Bet HaMikdash, and then we're all going to be together in unity, and that's the most important. And please God, Rosh Chodesh Tov U'Mvorach to each one of you individually, and Be'ezrat Hashem, enjoy Rosh Chodesh, enjoy the joys of that month, and you know, all the miracle happened to Bnei Israel. You saw what happened to Bnei Israel in Rosh Chodesh Adar. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to prepare shiurim about the Megillah. I'm going to do a special shiurim about Megillat Esther that all of you, I'm going to announce it, how we're going to go about it, because we are soon 15 days before Purim. So we'll try to do few shiurim about the Megillah. So when you read the Megillah, you'll see what's happening. You'll see the miracle. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that we should see miracle speedily in our days, this month, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say enough to all our chorus, send us Mashiach Titkenu, please God, in our day, Amen, Ken Yeh Ratzon. All the best.
Well,
Have a
Rob,
good
thank you very much.
enjoy, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll see you on Sunday. All the best.
Shabbat
Danke so.
Shalom and Chodesh Tov.
All the best. Amen, amen. To you all. Bye.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.